For this session, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be covering kind of the basics. So this is definitely designed for somebody who's either brand new to the system, brand new to CRM as a concept. Maybe you've just signed up for Apptivo. You're looking to get some advice on how to get started. So this will definitely be for beginners. And this session is going to give a complete introduction to CRM and specifically what CRM means inside of Apptivo. So we're going to start off by just talking about, what is CRM as a whole? So customer relationship management, that's what the acronym means. But really, it can mean a lot of different things. Like the overarching term basically just means everything that happens between your business and their business. All these different interactions, and that goes from sales, billing, marketing, email history, notes, relevant contracts, like all this information is considered part of CRM. Although typically, you're going to see all this data stored in different systems where when most businesses talk about CRM, you're going to break them into a couple kind of common categories, and not all CRM systems are the same. Not everybody has the same set of modules inside of them. So what you'll see is like the core of every CRM, or what we call CRM, is we look at it in 3 different functional components. And the core of everything, where all platforms will have this, is contact management. So just the concept of being able to have a profile for each person and organization that you interact with, and being able to track everything related to them. So this could be as simple as just having an area to track their phone numbers and share their basic information, maybe a couple notes and such. Or it could be a robust system where you have multiple different hierarchies of customers with parent and child companies and all the contacts who have different roles throughout. So lots of different ways you can approach this, but just the general concept of having a list of people and organizations and tracking their activities. Then there's Salesforce automation, which is really typically what you'll think about when you hear about a CRM system. And that's being able to track your sales pipeline. So being able to take in leads, perform cold calling, running marketing activities, converting them through to the next stage, tracking your pipeline, doing things like sales quotas, going and sending out proposals, that whole process to help facilitate the sales process of bringing a customer on board to your organization. And then a lot of CRM systems will stop there. But then we also offer the customer support aspect. So there's actually a lot of different areas, but we consider the customer support, the ticketing system, as part of the CRM, where it really is very much the same. It's a key interaction with ensuring that you have a great relationship with the customer. So we offer those, but the idea is that everything wraps around the contact management. So even beyond just the typical CRM components, all the other apps inside of Apptivo actually connect back into the core contact management system. So for example, if you choose to use the invoicing module or the project management module, you'll still be able to go and select a customer or contact from your CRM. And when you go to the CRM, you'd be able to see a history of invoices or quotes or projects or any other data that you've created for customers. So that's kind of the vision of Apptivo. Is as a CRM system, it's really powerful because it's one of the few systems that can give you a true 360-degree view of your customers, because we capture all the other information and have all the other interactions. And of course, the other great benefit is just the value to the business, because the way that the system works is there's no per app pricing. So it's not like you have to say, well, I'm adopting this specific app or set of apps inside of Apptivo. So CRM is just a category to help describe the purpose of the application. But you can just go app by app. There's an app store where we can choose the individual apps that are right for your organization. And there's no per app pricing or anything like that. It's just a flat per user rate, and users get access to the system. So the way it works is kind of like your mobile phones, where Apptivo as a platform, when you log in, it has this common set of features. So your phone has like a dialer application, has email and contacts built in. And we look down here, we have a calendar, there's some task management tools, place to capture phone calls. We have an email connector where we can send and receive emails, and then a place to track notes and documents. But we consider these common collaboration features where every one of the Apptivo apps uses the same set of features. So you'll see right when you log in, you get this dashboard that presents all the different activities going on, and this can be activities from any one of the Apptivo apps. So we'll go show you that piece, but then another big item on, especially the CRM side, is the mobility. So it's a cloud-based solution. You don't need anything except an internet connection, but then mobility is huge, especially when you're talking a lot of types of salespeople are still going on site, you're making visits, going around to different customers, you're always on the go. You need to be able to put in deals, you need to be able to see history on existing deals, and perform all of your follow-ups from your mobile phone. So the way it works is that Apptivo's technology is a mobile-friendly website. So even if you don't have the native mobile app, you can just go use the mobile website. But then the mobile app comes built in, where you just use your same Apptivo account, and we have an app for both iOS and Android that's fully touchscreen optimized and allows you to perform all actions from wherever. This is just kind of another note just on the CRM system of Apptivo. So really, we have much more than CRM, but this just gives you an idea of kind of how it ranks up there. So one of the biggest things is the power, the configurability of the new system, which I'm definitely going to go show you in this example account, but you'll get a feel for Apptivo is really just a top-end value. So when we're looking at the functionality, there's a lot to it, but we can kind of start to break it down into categories like we had talked about earlier. So I wanted to just spend a couple minutes and run through. So especially for those of you who aren't completely familiar with what CRM is, what types of features you'll normally get, we'll quickly browse through the features. And then during the actual demonstration of the product, we'll give you a quick tour, kind of show you how to navigate around, and we'll show you a couple of these features, but really we won't be able to go in too far into detail on any particular feature because there's quite a bit there and companies will use it in very different ways. So some organizations will start off and just do like a very simple lead tracking system so they can perform cold calling on lists of new leads that they're purchasing and then just have the full contact database of everybody they're interacting with. So there's definitely different levels that you should be looking at moving out Apptivo at your organization. But as far as what options are available to you, let's go quickly run through those categories. So starting off with like prospecting, which is really on the leads and the marketing side of things. So we have leads and opportunities for sales tracking. That's pretty standard for CRM. We just allow you to do it where lead is a little bit more marketing focused. It's people you don't officially have contact with, whereas the opportunities are a pipeline where, let's say if you have somebody contact you through your website or they call up and they leave a voicemail. You've never spoken to them. So they're a lead because you might have 15 people who you've been talking with for the last 6 weeks, and maybe you have a quote out for a couple of them. These ones have like a real value to them. So the idea is that those are opportunities. So we offer both leads and opportunities, and then each app allows you to completely control the fields. So when you're saying what information do you need to track about a deal in your system, you can control whatever field you want. You can write rules for how to bring leads into the system and go and automatically assign them to employees. So let's say when a lead comes in within a certain territory or of a certain line of business, I want to assign it to somebody. Then there's different reporting capabilities. So based on the type or the source of a lead, we can go and measure, well, how often are we converting them? What kind of revenue are we generating from the business later on in the pipeline? And then we just have some cool little interface tricks, which I'll show you where I can quickly go and grab a list of 50 leads and perform a cold calling sequence and quickly capture my phone calls, track reminders, and just fire right through them. Then on the other side, even before a lead, we have our campaign management, which is actually a pretty fresh application where we can do we can create lists of targets. So we can actually go target all of your CRM data based on any criteria, bring them into a campaign. Then we've got this nice template designer. So you can go and create great looking HTML email templates like a newsletter. And then we can actually go blast it out to these lists. And we've got some different analytics that you can do to track the marketing activities. Although there's actually basic bulk emailing built right into every application. So you can go grab a list of 30 contacts from a certain zip code and send them a personalized email at any time. You don't even need the full campaign management. Then on the opportunity management, this is more of like your typical sales pipeline. So in here, yes, you've got the basics that just come right out of the box. Like you'll get a sales funnel, you get a 12-month pipeline that'll automatically project based on your current pipeline value. But then some people will get much more advanced. So we actually have automated workflows that you can construct in. We can write rules of like when deals are allowed to move to the next stage based on conditions that you can write. Then lots of different granular security controls that you can apply. So if sales teams want to work individually where they don't see each other's deals, you can implement those sorts of setups, or you can keep a completely open environment. Or maybe you have things like maybe certain fields on a deal, like a commission rate, are only visible or editable by a group of administrators. So you can get down to that level as well. And then the other details kind of transferring into the next stage is where there's a common item database where you can hold services and products that you'll be selling, and you can go connect those products into deals and put verbal discounting in there, and then it connects directly into our estimates module. So you can actually go and send estimates off to the customer as part of your sales process. Then there's really just a ton of different reports and such that we can get to. So the idea is that you can do kind of analytical reports, check out conversion rates, lead sources, employees who are generating the most revenue. You got quick visualizations, so I can go see like the sales funnel we talked about, the 12-month pipeline, and then there's a couple other ways to chop it apart to see like where the revenue is currently sitting at each stage. And then there's also this performance dashboard. So there's a quota management system constructed in, and there's this great performance dashboard that shows each employee exactly how far they are is like on track according to the quotas that you define as an organization. So I'll definitely show you a bit of that as well. And then there's a bunch of different tools to help people go and browse around. So like managing your day-to-day activities. So we have the calendar integration, which if any of you are on Google Apps, we actually have a two-way calendar sync. We sync your contacts, we sync your tasks, along with the email that works with everybody. We actually have upcoming Office 365 integrations as well. And then there's just a general area to track notes and documents, and there's a place that tracks all the history, all the updates you're performing in the system. And we're definitely going to talk about email integration. It's huge inside of CRM, where we connect with any IMAP email provider. We'll sync your email back and forth. We have HTML email templates, and any field you create in the system can be included in a template. So you can like send off personalized email templates. We can do bulk emailing, and then we can also control like who sees which emails. So multiple people in an organization selling to the same account, you would be able to configure it where everybody can see each other's conversations. And then as we talked about earlier, mobility, another very big item. You can basically get to it from whenever. There's a couple really cool features on the mobile app. So for example, if you're on an Android device, when you receive a phone call and hang up, it'll actually check the mobile app to see if that's a CRM contact. And if so, it would prompt you to capture that phone call into the CRM. There's actually like a Ring Central integration too, where you can automatically record phone calls into the CRM. Some pretty cool stuff there. And then the different connectors. So, yep, we've got a full suite of Google Apps integrations. We've just started rolling out all of the Microsoft integrations. So you already have support for OneDrive. We can give you single sign-on capabilities. We can also integrate with like Active Directory if your organization operates that internally. So lots of actions that we can do there. And then last side is like really just on the measurement. So we do have team management. So we can start off with a very small sales team, just a couple people. Or you can set up multiple layers in the reporting hierarchy and report at each level. And then I'll show you how there's a lot of different ways for us to slice the data apart however we want. And different ways to kind of create charts and such. Yeah, we talked about the quotas and forecasting, territory management, being able to analyze deals. So we're not going to focus too much on the customer service today, but the idea is, yes, it's a full ticketing system. It's got lots of cool email integration to help with communication, make it a little bit easier. It also has intake and routing rules inside of there, but inside of ticketing, we give you like escalation policies, and there's also different reports around how quickly that you're responding to tickets and getting them resolved, and there's a knowledge-based application. But I mean, the key thing as far as customer service is the 360-degree view, and this is the last slide I want to show before we go walk through the application. The 360-degree view is one of the most important things, where you can just count on the fact that if you want to see everything related to a person or a customer that you have, you should be able to go to one location inside of your app and find all that information. And that's really what Apptivo specializes in. One is we don't duplicate info. Your CRM data gets reused across the whole platform, meaning if support gets a new phone number for a contact, or maybe billing gets a new phone number or has to update information, all of them can contribute and work on the same source of information. So that way you never end up in the scenario where over time billing changes some details about the contact. They have a brand new contact, and then the salesperson goes back in for renewal and they're calling the wrong person. So that's kind of what Apptivo is all about, is giving visibility for both teams to see what the other's doing, and then also being able to make sure that they can leverage what each other's doing. So actually going through and making sure that you reuse information and link information together rather than duplicating it across systems. All right, so let's go ahead and let's run through the application a little bit. So in this case, what we want to do is I want to give you a quick overview of how the whole system is structured. So we talked about how there's a bunch of apps, but then it's built on top of this set of common collaboration tools. So this is the main homepage you see right when you log in. And the first thing you see is this agenda, which shows you all the different previously scheduled activities you have. So this is assuming I've already been in the software and using it for a little bit. When you first log in, you'll be on an empty page. But the idea is that we have a calendar inside of Apptivo. And many of you are probably already using a calendar in Outlook, Apple Mail, your phone, Google, whatever it might be, but they all generally work the same. So when you look at like an event on our calendar, it's pretty standard. But the idea is it's associated with your business data. So that one's linked up with a contact inside of the CRM. But you'll see I can have tasks like, okay, write up a sales proposal, or you'll see in this example, I have a task linked up with a project, or there can be activities on invoices and everything like that. So the idea is that each one of these is going to be linked up with some record, and then that would take you into the various apps. So I can click on Trisha here, or Tasha, and that would take me into the leads application. And now I'm inside of the CRM, I'd be able to go and take action on that reminder for Tasha. So you have this main like navigation over on the left. That shows the information that goes across all the apps inside of Apptivo. So it's really good for analyzing what you've already scheduled. But then you have the individual apps themselves. So if I wanted to go and look at my sales pipeline, or if I have a new lead and I need to enter them in, or if I just need to look up somebody's contact information, I need to go into one of the applications to get that info. So across the top of the page is where each user sees their apps. And I'm in a demo account here, so I have almost every application added on. But you can see that here's another example with a slightly more simplified one where I've still got a few applications inside of here. But you'll notice that this can change on the top. So each user is going to see their own activities, and then they'll see the applications based on the role that they have inside of the organization. So when they come in, you'll be able to kind of pick your top 5. So a support person can have the support apps, billing can have invoicing and estimates, and a salesperson might have something that looks like this. So I've got my individual apps up here, and then I could, for example, go click on the contacts app. So contacts are kind of the base of everything. In Apptivo, contacts a person, and then a customer is going to be like a buying party or an organization. And in here, pretty standard. So when you move into an app in Apptivo, it is kind of its own little environment, but all of the apps follow a standard formula. So inside of an app, what you can do is you can search through, and I can locate contacts in this case. So if I know somebody's name, pretty simple, just come in here, type in their name, brings up the list. Over on the left, you have some standard built-in filters. So there's like a category field right when you set up contacts, and you can go and filter by contacts of a certain category or based on the letter of their last name. But then you can also go create your own custom lists. So I mentioned you can slice and dice your data however. So I mean, if we click on a contact and look at it, we've got all these fields in there. So you got your standard stuff like first and last name, but we can configure it however we want. So for example, here I can create a custom list of sports, and I've created a toggle switch so I can choose what they want. I can create drop-down menus. You can create date selectors. You can even create tables of fields like this. So you can get an idea of how, obviously, test scores is not something that would come out of the box. Based on your type of business, you can completely change the form inside of here. And now the reason that that's important is because when you're talking about like creating lists of your contacts, what information you're storing about them matters. So if I've gone and I've selected that this particular contact is interested in cricket. Oops, of course I've got a mandatory field here. So that's another configuration thing you can do is choose which fields are optional versus mandatory. And now that I have a contact who likes cricket, what you can do is, although I can do a basic keyword search, you can also search based on any specific field. So it's very easy for me to come in and say, show me all of my contacts who like cricket. And maybe I have some tickets to a local game, so I'll go send them off to some of my existing business contacts. But this has a ton of different applications, because maybe what I actually was doing is in my business, I do like custom furniture or products, and I do the build to order. Maybe one of my orders fell through, so I have some extra product. So I need to go and target all of my existing customers in a certain region nearby that product and who have interests that are similar to that product, so they potentially would want it. And then maybe go and call them all up or send them all an email. So what you can do is you can target your data based on any criteria. So that's why it's really important is the configurability of the system allows you to choose whatever information that you want to program in here. It takes no coding or anything like that. You just walk in, there's a drag and drop builder to do it inside of the settings area. And as you build it, the whole system will adapt around the change that you make. So the idea is that I could filter based on people who liked cricket, but then I can also come and change these columns inside of each app. So pretty much everything you can see is customizable. Like the left navigation, you can rearrange it. These columns, we can change them. We can have presets that we just apply to these customers that we're looking at. And whenever I have a list of data I like, I can actually go and I can save it as my own custom list. So I can say these are my Cricut contacts. You'd have the option to share it with others if you'd like. Of course, I've already created one. And then over on the left side, you'll see there's a section called My Views. So you can actually have your own customized list right here, which would combine both the search criteria and the columns that you specified. So each app has these tools built in to kind of manage your data. Whenever you have a list of it, we can always export your data and perform bulk actions. So I can change fields in bulk. I can go and I can send an email to them all at one time. And I can actually go and select an email template, so it sends a personalized copy to each person. Or I can go and I can download the data. So for a lot of custom reporting needs, you sometimes need to just take information out of the system in a specific format. So it's actually really easy for me to export the current view, which is going to take these 8 contacts with just these columns right here and gives you a spreadsheet of that information. So there's a lot of flexibility as far as like data management goes, but then let's go ahead and let's bring up and see what one contact actually looks like. Okay, so here now we're in a contact profile, and there was one question relevant to what we were just speaking about on the fields, which is that if I change one field name, is that field changed in all records in the CRM? And the answer is yes. So the idea is that you're creating the standard fields that you want to track for a contact. And there's actually some really cool things you can do here, because sometimes you might have contacts of completely different types, or maybe your business has a couple different lines of business or different types of products or services. And based on which type of product or service that a customer wants for a deal, you might need to track completely different information. So that's where we start to get into the advanced customization of the details stored on a contact. And I'm going to come and I'm going to show you that piece. It's called conditions between the fields. That's where we start getting into more of like, the workflow and the high level customization. Because Apptivo, like right out of the box, we designed it so it can work in a very simple manner. So when you set it up, yours is actually going to look a little bit something more like this. This is more of a standard contacts application with not very much customization done inside of it. So some people prefer to have like a little bit more of a simpler profile like this, with some of the fields removed, maybe even still left in some, but this all just comes right out of the box. Then you can come in and you could choose to go and apply all these different fields, create your own. We can rename whatever we want. We can rearrange them however we want. And that's all just done inside of the settings. So each app has its own fields. And then whenever you're viewing a record, so we're on a contact right here, you'll always have the overview tab, which shows you all the fields that you've configured in that app. And then you'll have all the other tabs across the top, which are more common features. So what you get is those common collaboration features, what we saw when we first logged in and we saw all those activities on the homepage dashboard. The way that those actually work is when I'm looking at a contact, Maxine has her own calendar. The idea is that there's a calendar, there's a task list, basically the same tabs that we saw on the homepage, but these will just filter and only show activities relevant to Maxine. So the general way that you'll use this system is, okay, I'm looking at all of Maxine's information, and these tabs are going to give me all the historical data. So I know exactly what I've been doing with Maxine over time, and then I can go take my next action. So maybe I'm going to call her, I'm going to go send out a quote, whatever it might be, and I need to track my activities. So let's just say I sent her an email and I want to put in a reminder to follow up in a couple days, or we just scheduled a meeting for tomorrow at 2 p.m. So the idea is that I'll use one of my activity types up here. So we just give you 3 different types of activities. Like if you have a time of day, you use the calendar. If you don't have a time of day, you use the follow-up, versus like an internal piece of work is a task, like if you have to write up a sales proposal. But they all show up on the main homepage and they all work in the same general way of, okay, I want to schedule a meeting with Maxine tomorrow at 2 p.m. Come in, you're going to schedule it just like any other typical calendar event. So I'm going to say meeting with Maxine. You could put in your location and all that, but you'll just see that it says associated with Maxine. So the idea is that you can go back to that homepage and you would see this calendar event, and you could just click on this hyperlink for Maxine and it would take you right back here into the contact. So then you can go view all of your historical data. So that's the way the activities work, which is your reminder system. But then you have these other tabs across the top. So call logs, we spoke a little bit about this. Basically, I can manually capture a call, take some quick notes. There's the integration with Ring Central where you automatically capture phone calls. And then on the mobile apps, whenever you're looking at a phone number, you can click on it. It will open up your dialer and then prompt you to capture that phone call afterwards. And then on Android, it'll also attempt to capture the incoming phone calls if it's a CRM contact. Otherwise, just for informational, historical purposes. Whereas email gives you the history of email right here. So we can see every email that was sent by them. And then you also get the ability to send email out. So we saw a little bit of like the bulk emailing and using the email templates. So the idea is that you can just you can create these templates in each app, and then those fields that you configure can be personalized in. So I can just do simple things like their first name here, but a template could also include any other sort of custom attributes that you have in the system. So here I just did email and phone number, but custom fields can be included in email templates. But the other piece that's really special here is keeping a history. So it's all about getting the history of information with one customer on a page. So we support any IMAP email provider, and we can connect as many email accounts as you want in Apptivo. Once you connect an email account, we're constantly reading the email that you send and receive. And if you send an email from Apptivo, we'll put it into the sent folder of your other email client and vice versa. But then on your incoming and outgoing emails, we're also checking and trying to match them to your existing CRM records. So what you'll see is Maxine has her email right here. So if we detect an email from her or anything that you've sent to her, it'll automatically display on this emails tab right here. So related to like a person, you'll just get everything completely automatically. You do nothing. And you have both an inbox and a sent folder for what you've sent to them. But then like you could be working on deals and support tickets and invoices, like the transactional records, because you can have many deals with one customer over time. So in those applications, we have this ID system where when you initiate an email from an opportunity, it would put an ID number like this into the subject line. So that way what you see is the email is actually related to many different records. So when we bring it in, we'll show it wherever it's relevant. But the idea is everything is interlinked. So I can actually click on that sales opportunity. And then when we're viewing an opportunity, it has the same set of tabs across the top of the page. So it has the emails relevant to that. But now we're getting a filtered list of just the emails relevant to this one deal. So that's kind of another example of how the data is all interconnected. And that goes in many different ways. So your emails are relevant to the deal, and then the deal is related to the company that you're working with and the contact that you're working with. So the idea is all this information is hyperlinked and brought together. So now we're in a completely different app, but you'll notice like the tabs look the same, the navigation on the left's the same. All the apps are going to look the same in that manner. But then here on an opportunity, you have a hyperlink over to the customer and our contact, Maxine, how we got here in the first place. So in this case, I can click on her once and it pops open a side panel. So this would show me all the fields that you have stored in that app. So without duplicating the data in the opportunity, I can view all that information right here. Or there's a hyperlink where I can actually go right back to the contact record from this location. And we've been looking at a contact this whole time, but the idea is that Maxine's just one person who works for Maxilon. So just like I can look at emails for Maxine or history with Maxine, I could go to the profile for Maxilon and I could say, oh no, I want to see the history for the whole organization, which could be Maxine plus other people that I'm interacting with. So in that case, I have a different email tab that'll show its own filtered version. So the idea is that all these tabs will be showing the same, like sharing information across apps. We're just going to show it wherever it's deemed as relevant. And we can always go and based on whatever piece of information you have, you should be able to find everything else. Like if I know a company, I should be able to find Maxine. And I can do that by just scrolling down, and there's actually an area for the list of contacts at this organization. So as you can see, I just bounced around a few times, but at the end, we just hopped right back in and we're looking at the details of Maxine's contact. So as far as these other features, you have a notes area. So this is pretty standard. It's just an area where you can punch in notes, but you'll see that it'll timestamp it and it'll put your name on there. And many users can all add notes so you can see who is putting what in there. Then on the files integration, what you have is you can add documents. So you can upload from your computer. If you read about the document storage, it only applies to files uploaded from your computer. So you are allowed unlimited contacts, unlimited emails, opportunities, everything like that. And then we have integrations with Google, Dropbox, and OneDrive. So in this case, what you'll get is just a pop-up that would have you log into that service. And what you'll see is instead of duplicating the document, creating another version, we actually just do a hyperlink to the document in the other source. So it just pop open a new tab and open that document in like Dropbox or wherever you linked it from. So those are kind of the common collaboration features, but then there's two really big features. And that comes down to that like 360-degree view that we were talking about. So in this case, the newsfeed just shows a chronological breakdown of history. So in this case, whenever I'm scheduling an event, which we did a moment ago, or if I change any fields, or what you'll see if we look down here is updates in other applications. So this is where things get really cool, where it's pretty standard to be able to see like opportunity activity for a contact. But if we go down far enough here, we can see activity when she's added into a project. She could have been involved in some billing activities, in help desks. Basically, everything will get aggregated right back here. So the idea is that you have a news feed, which just shows a chronological breakdown. And then the 360 view allows you to look up data in other apps. So if you've used the Estimates app, I can find all estimates I've ever sent to this contact. Or I can see all sales opportunities they're involved in, all help desk tickets they've reported, all invoices I've sent to them. And just like the other apps, I could say, well, these are just the ones I've sent to Maxine. But from the customer view, I should be able to see everything completely related to their account. So in this case, I could just say, show me every interaction between my business and theirs, and the newsfeed will give you that information. So I can see their invoice history, when they're accepting estimates, everything like that. And same thing, the 360 view. So you get a full invoice, project history, any of the apps that you use is plugged in right here. And like I can even like generate an invoice from right here inside of the CRM system. So yeah, pretty cool, pretty interconnected in that manner, but those kind of make up the common features. So even if we go and look at like an invoice, like a totally different financial application, you'll see the structure of the app, it's pretty much the same. You bring up the details of an invoice, it's got the same different activities, but when you look at an invoice newsfeed, it's just the updates on this invoice, whereas it's linked to the customer, and the customer would show you all the other updates in regards to other invoices. Okay, so that's the general way that kind of the data is structured. And a couple more topics that we really want to hit on before we wrap this up today. So one is I want to show you about the configurability and talk about the workflow. I want to show you a little bit about the reporting and the dashboards and such. But real quick, there was a couple questions around the email functionality. So let's quickly handle these. So the title of the email must be very relevant. The idea is that it's not going to be based on the actual like title of the email. So the system is going to create this special ID. Like you have to get this from the system. You'll just notice when I chose to send an email from an opportunity, the system pre-populated this ID number for you. And you can put your subject or your content on the end of it. You can type before it. As long as that ID number is somewhere in the subject, it'll work perfectly fine. And just in case you're wondering, basically the other option that similar systems will do is they'll have you like BCC some special address to link it in. We've done studies and the customer is much less likely to change the subject line of an email when replying than they are to miss hitting the reply all button. So that's why we chose to put it inside of the subject line instead. But yeah, basically the system will handle it for you. And just in case you ever forget, there is an area for you to go and manually link emails back to a CRM record. And yeah, basically that would file it according to the deal if it has the ID number, plus it would always go back to the customer and contact automatically. So you'd see it in all three locations. Okay, perfect. So then, yeah, let's talk about those last two areas. And I saw one question on returns and defects, which is, I guess it's a little bit off the core CRM topic. So I guess we'll cover that at the end. So let's talk a little bit about the reporting first, and then we'll talk about the workflow and customization type options to get it all wrapped up. So as far as the reporting goes, each app will have different reports, and there's three styles of reports inside of Apptivo. One of them we already saw, which is the ability for me to go and grab my data based on whatever conditions. So like grab all my deals in a certain set of stages, worth a certain amount, and closing between a certain period, and then go grab that list of deals. Then change it so I get the amount of the deal printed into this list along with the probability, and basically just customizing the information that I want visible. So I'm creating what I want to have pulled into a spreadsheet, and then I can just download the whole thing as a spreadsheet. So you can paste that in. You can do outside reports, anything that's not supported out of Apptivo. Plus, some people just want to pull their data to a spreadsheet. So that's reporting style 1. Reporting style 2 is dashboards. So the Opportunities app is the one in CRM, although the help desk also has it, and you'll see more of these coming out. But the dashboards are just straight visual representations of your information. Some of them will give kind of insights, and then some of them are specifically designed to be actionable. So this is the performance dashboard with that quota management system that we discussed. So what you'll see here is I can analyze my dashboards based on a time period and also based on whose deals I'm reporting on. So I can look at the whole organization or just mine, or you can see like the reporting hierarchy built in where I can drill down on any level, any team who's below me in the reporting hierarchy. So I'm going to go hit 2015 Q4 just so I get some data. And then there's a different app called Sales Pointing that manages all the quotas that power this. But just the idea is that you'll see there's a goal. It will calculate the value of your current pipeline, and you're able to configure what you consider pipeline versus forecast. And then it just shows you whether you're on track or not. Some different visualizations for like historical wins. And then here, I've got a lot of test users, but you can see the visualization of each person's pipeline who reports into you, along with like how they're doing against their quota. And everything you see right here can be drilled down upon. So that means I could click on this, or I could click on this box up here, and that will show me the opportunities that were relevant to generating that information. So this one's really popular, very easy way to like see your revenue during a period, but it's all about goal tracking. Sales funnel, another very popular one, kind of standard for CRM. It's just a straight visualization of your data. Yes, you can click on them to drill down. It does some basic calculations, but as you can see, it's just based on a list of your deals. Pipeline by stage, very similar. Just shows amount of revenue sitting in each stage, another different way to visualize it. And then seeing upcoming revenue. So being able to project out your revenue based on the current value and probability of each deal. And then you have the more kind of intelligence style reports. So when you lose deals, you're able to come in and record why you lost it. You can track like which competitor you lost to. I thought it was Q4. Maybe I've got data in 2016. But you'll track these reasons. Maybe it's 2015 as a whole. There we go. And it will show you, okay, which reasons are losing you the most deals versus the most revenue, which employees are losing the most deals, customers, just different ways to look at deals losses. Then there's also the equivalent for when you've won deals. And then there's this lead analysis, which is going to tell you, well, which lead sources are generating the most revenue, which conversion rates, which employees, things like that. So this is the dashboard style reporting, which are just fast visualizations, usually designed for taking quick action. And then you have your analytical style reports. So these are just a bunch more lists of data paired up with the visualized chart. Too many to go through individually. I guess I'll just point out these styles. And then there's one other style one where like it's like this. So for example, just getting a breakdown and having the system crunch some numbers for you and give you key insights. So I can check out like conversion rates of employees or conversion rates of lead sources in this example. And you can do analysis on like how many activities are going on for each deal. A couple different things like that. So that kind of makes up the 3 areas of reporting inside of Apptivo. And then the last part I want to talk about is the customization. So we said that we've got like the fields in each app, and those can be fully customized. There's a lot more than that. Each app has its own settings area, and there's a ton of settings. So right here, this Opportunities is like a moderately configurable app. There's a ton to it. So it starts off with like all those tabs we covered on the top of the page. You could turn some off. You could choose that you're never going to use follow-ups or tasks. You just want to use calendar only. Totally an option. You could also restrict them to privileges. So this stuff out of the box, it'll come very open and simple, but you can get very granular and you can create custom security privileges and turn features on and off, turn reports on and off. Out of the box, we're just going to leave everything enabled, but you'll see we've buried away the settings for you to get that level of control if you want. So it's the same thing, like every little button that you can perform, like exporting and deleting, and whether you can import or create reports, all that stuff is configurable. So once again, it's all enabled out of the box, but you could choose to disable or restrict access to any one of these functions. So it's pretty much the same thing all around the board, where the navigation's on the left of the page. We could drag and drop to rearrange them. So we can move the by sales stage one up, or our my views, like we want to move that up because we use our custom views all the time. You can turn them on and off. You can restrict their access. You can also even change like the default page. So when I log in, it goes to the sales funnel. I could change it to go to the performance dashboard instead, or just go to a list of all of my deals. So I can choose all that sort of stuff. And then there's the master layout. So basically every field inside of the app is configurable, and any workflows or anything like that that we build, they'll be based on top of the fields. So inside of an opportunity, I've got my standard fields, but I've created a couple customizations in here. And I want to show one of those advanced items we talked about earlier where I can write like conditions between the fields. So the idea is that you could say, well, I've got two different types of opportunities and I want to track totally different information. So I could just make all the fields visible only when I've got a certain opportunity type. In this example, let's say you're a construction company and you're going to list out a bunch of bathrooms you're remodeling inside of a building and the details about each one. So based on what type of bathroom it is, whether it's a full or a half bathroom, I want to change the type of information I'm capturing down here. So there's actually a way for me, like I just come in, I create a drop-down menu called bathroom type. You'll see all the settings you can control on each field, like whether it's mandatory, what the label of it is, whether it's visible, how it's sorted, things like that. And then down here, these fields have conditions. So in this case, I've got what's called a value restriction condition, which is saying if you select the bathroom type and you go pick the option half, the values I want visible are only 0 and 1. Or if you go to bathroom type and select full, I want the user to be able to select 0, 1, 2, or 3 plus. So that's a type of condition, and the condition builder works the same all around. So inside of here, I have a visibility condition that says if the bathroom type is full, then this field's visible. Otherwise, it's invisible. So now the effect of that, if I go and like start keying in a new deal, you'll see I've got this table attribute. So that allows me to just add many rows of the same fields I configured once. But then I come in, I select full, and you notice this field appears. I can select whatever value I want. And here I get 0, 1, 2, 3 plus. But if I go hit half, that field goes away, and then my values inside of here change. So you can write rules right into the fields. You can control totally different layouts. This is part of what drives you to have like two different teams working in the same sales pipeline. So there's lots of other little details there. Like there's actually cool stuff. So for example, here I created a field called referral, and it actually allows me to go search my customer database and link. So that's actually what we call a custom reference app, where what you can do is if you have a field on your customer record, or if you want to link this deal to another contact or another record in another app, you create what's called a ref app. So maybe I've got like my main customer, but then I've got like my installer. So a lot of time what we see is organizations will like sell something to the end customer, then they'll sell it to an intermediary party, and they want to track both. So what I can actually do is create a field called installer and say I want to pick an installer from my customer's application. And it creates an automatic search and select field for you right in the system. So that's just kind of built-in functionality. And now I can go and I can type in one of our customers and it pops in. And then I could say, well, once I've selected that, go and fill in information. So like this services field is actually what we call a ref app, where on my customer Maxilon, I've got their services selected. So when I type in Maxilon, you'll see it populates the territory, it populates the services. So you can choose to pull data over from this customer and then automatically populate the opportunity with it. So that's all just field configuration, where you got some very basic workflow. But then you have kind of the native workflow, which comes in each app. So in here, you've got the stages of a deal, what drove like that sales pipeline and such. So the quota is one we talked about. You can configure what's pipeline versus forecast. You'll see you categorize what each stage belongs into. You define what probability it should be a standard of and whether you want employees to override the probability. Then you can come in, you can write conditions of when each stage can happen. So using that same kind of condition builder, I wrote a condition that says you can't enter a proposal stage unless the close date is within the next 280 days. So you can go take your fields and say, well, if you don't have a value in this field, you're not allowed to advance the deal to the next stage. Then there's the fully customized workflow. So we have our triggers. And this is where I can write like custom email notifications. I could automatically assign deals based on certain conditions. And here you'll basically see the same kind of condition builder. So I'm detecting whenever an opportunity is updated, I want to check for this condition. So what I'm saying is if the old sales stage was not closed won and now it's closed won, we know we just changed that. And I only want to run this rule when the type of the deal is for a residential buyer. So in that condition, I want these actions to occur. So you can update an attribute or send off an email message. So here I've got an email going off to one of my employees, my predefined email template, that just tells them about this event whenever it happens. But you could go reassign deals, you can escalate them, you could add another reminder into the system, and you can do things over time. Like, so here, if I forget to follow up on a deal, I can send a reminder to myself, or I can write things based on activities. Like if I receive an email from the customer, automatically send a notification to somebody on my team. So lots of different little elements like that. There's really way too much to cover inside of one call. I just wanted to give you a little bit of a taste for what we have on that side. So what I want to do is go ahead and wrap up the regular part of this session. So if you're just interested in the CRM, what's been covered so far, thank you very much for attending.